Who inspires you? Your mother? Your child? Inspiration comes in many forms, and at WBGU-TV, you inspire us to bring entertaining and educational programming to our region. Get inspired, stay inspired.
The first real written word of anybody being in the cave comes from Commodore Perry during the War of 1812. Perry actually had his ships were built in Erie, Pennsylvania, and as he came down the lake to protect this end of the lake, he stopped in a couple different places. One of the stops was Sandusky, Ohio. And it was in September, it was late in the year. A lot of the men were getting sick from drinking lake water from Lake Erie. Dysentery was a big problem, and he heard stories of somebody on the island knowing of a cave that had fresh water in it, like well water. So he sent a couple of scouts out, and they came to the area, kind of wandered around, found the cave, went back, told him about it, and then he came up to see it and realized this was a good spot to stage his ships before any battle out here on the lake. Well, the cave at the deepest point is about 52 feet below the surface. Okay, so in the cave, as you can see, the cave is kind of a low dome. You can't stand up real straight in most of the places, except down by the lake. And down by the lake, there's probably about 40 feet of rock above our heads. Well, the cave is a typical limestone cave. You're going to have stalagmites, the bumps here on the floor that are created from the dripping. You're going to have stalactites, the things hanging from the ceiling, and sometimes you'll find a column. In the cave, we also have cave pearls. The cave pearls are kind of a unique thing where as water drips from the ceiling, if it hits a puddle at just the right depth, the puddle's not too deep or too shallow, the water kind of rolls the stones around as it drips in there. And those stones kind of collect the mineral, which is calcium carbonate, and they form little marble-like looking things called cave pearls.
But what this is the same collection of minerals resulting from the water dripping.
Now, flowstone is just one of these stalagmites on the floor that was on a rock that was, say, angled or beveled, or it fell off the edge of the rock, and it looks kind of like a waterfall. It's the oldest attraction on the island. In 1870, when this cave was open to the public, it was the very first thing people came to see. During the 1860s, this island was usually just known for grape growing and a few wineries. As more and more wineries became available here on the island, of course, it drew more people in, and that's when the cave first opened up to the public. Well, this is called a solution cave. It's a cave that wasn't formed by water running through it. It was formed because there was a material in the dolomite called gypsum. Now, you folks may know gypsum as a material to make drywall out of, or wallboard. Drywall, of course, you know when it gets wet, it expands, kind of crumbles apart, and then goes away. Well, that's how the cave opened up. Somewhere in this area there was a layer of gypsum, and it got wet. As it got wet, it expanded to almost 7 times its normal size. As it grew, it pushed the cave apart and then settled out. So when that material washed away, we're left with a void that we're now standing in. All the caves on the island, this is the largest unsupported dome that is here. Will it fall in someday? You would have to think so. When that will happen, no idea.
Scenic Stops is brought to you by WBGU-TV. Support great local programming by giving now at wbgu.org/pledge.